During this session, we're going to give you a brief overview of the Workflow Plus admin dashboard. To access the dashboard, head to accounts.workflowplus.com, and here you'll be prompted to enter your team name. This will have been provided to you as part of your login credentials when you set your account up. Enter your team name and select Continue. Here you are met with some options to sign in. You can sign in using your email address and your password, or you can sign in using single sign-on with a third party such as Google or Microsoft. If you've forgotten your password, select Forgot Password, enter your email address and select Get Reset Link. An email will then be sent to you containing a reset link. I'm going to go ahead and sign in using Google and select my account. And the first page that I'm brought to by accessing accounts.workflowplus.com is my personal account. So this shows me all of my personal information. It shows my username, my team, my friendly name, and also my permissions such as owner, admin, modify, editor. These will be set by the creator of your account. I can also manage my password in here. So if I wanted to change my password, for example, if this was my first time signing into the dashboard, I might want to change it for security purposes, and I can do so here. I can also manage my third-party management sign-in, such as if I wanted to disconnect signing in with Google, I can select disconnect. And if I wanted to be able to sign in using Microsoft in the future, I could select connect there. To go to the main dashboard where we'll see all of our workflows and our jobs, we select Go to Dashboard. To get back to my settings from this page, I simply select the hamburger menu in the top right hand corner and select the cog there. And that takes me back. So we'll now start to look at the main panel of the admin dashboard. This is the first page where we see a list of all of the workflows that we've created and either published live from the editor to the server, or we've manually downloaded a zip from the editor and manually uploaded in here. And we do so by selecting the plus button here. This opens up a panel on the right hand side which contains all of the information that you want to enter for your workflow. Select the plus button and then select the zip file that you want to add. And you'll see the green boxes in the right hand corner saying that that's processed. From here we can fill out information such as a description of the workflow. The description would then be shown on the user's device. The mode that we want to create this in, so if we want to create it live, which means it shows on all of our team's accounts, or for draft or approval. We can add in some version notes or some workflow tags. And we can also set the permissions in here. So at the moment, because my user permissions are empty, this means that every user on my team will see this new workflow on their device as soon as it's synced. If I didn't want this to be the case and I wanted to lock this workflow so that only one user or a number of individuals or a group could see this workflow, I would select that here. So if, for instance, I wanted Hannah to be the only person that sees this workflow, I'd select Hannah there. And then when I create the workflow, only Hannah will be able to see it and access it and run jobs from it. If I leave it empty and I create the workflow, again, all users would see it. So we'll go ahead and select Create. And again, as you can see, the green box in the top right hand corner will tell us that that's being processed. So to view information about existing workflows, simply select the workflow that you wish to view. And again, you can see all of the information that we were referring to before in terms of permissions, workflow tags, and we can make changes in here. There's another button in here which is View Integrations. By selecting that, it opens up the integrations panel on the right hand side. And we'll go into integrations in a bit more detail in a later video. But basically what we mean by integrations is when a job is completed as part of a workflow, what do we want to happen? So do we want an email to be sent to a specific group of users? If we do, we can select Create Integration, the integration title, select the integration type, whether we want it to be an email or HTTP trigger, and create. And then the Integrations tab opens where we can add further information. As I mentioned, we'll go into that in a little bit more detail later on. But for now, we'll just close that down. So if I wanted to see the number of jobs that have been created as part of a workflow, I can do that in a number of ways. I can select the workflow and then go to the top and press this briefcase here, View Jobs. And that will open up all of the jobs that have been ran as part of that workflow, and we'll start to be able to see their statuses. So abandoned, paused, or active. Completed, rather. And also for a workflow, you might find it's helpful to be able to print a QR code for easy access for users to run a job. Say for instance, your workflow is for installation of a device or a piece of equipment. It might be handy for you to print the workflow off, have it at the site where you want them to run the workflow. They can scan it using their camera. And to do so, select the workflow that you wish to get this QR code for, and then in the top corner here, generate QR code. You can give that a title, which would normally be the title of the workflow. And you can edit the metadata if you wish. And you can either download it, or you can copy a deep link. And you can then copy it. You can then take that deep link and pop it into an email. The other way that we can view jobs is by selecting the jobs on the left navigation bar, which will show us a full list of all of the jobs ran. This is in chronological order and not by workflow order. So you can see the job title is on the left hand side, but this is created when a user creates a job on their device, so it may be different from the workflow. If you wanted to select the workflow to see its status, you can see this one is in progress. It's got the play button on the right hand side, which means it's still being completed. We can see a paused here, we can see a completed with a green tick, and with a red cross we can see that that has been aborted. Once you click on the job, you'll see all of the completed steps. And if you have any media as part of those, such as imagery, they will show in here. And you can also download the job either by JSON or CSV. We can select the eye up here, which will give us advanced information such as the job ID and the workflow template ID and the version ID. And because this job is still in progress, we can assign the user. So if, say for instance, Tim has started this job, but actually it needs to be completed by Hannah, I can go into here and I can select transfer job, select Hannah and confirm. That job will then be transferred to Hannah. Because this job is not completed, I can't download a report for it yet, but if I go to a job that is completed, I'll be able to download the report as a PDF. And this will be dependent on the report template that we've chosen. Again, on the left-hand navigation bar, we have our scheduler. So this is where users are able to schedule jobs by start date. And to do so, we just click on the plus button and give the scheduled job a name. I'm saying consistent with example, schedule description, this is what the user sees on their device, and then we select the workflow for which we want this scheduled job to run. So again, we can see a full list of all of the workflows that are available to us. We'll go ahead and select one, and then we can select a user. So here we can select a user or a group. Cook group. So here we can select an individual user to complete this job. So let's go ahead and select Hannah. All of the jobs are going to Hannah today. We can also select the date that we want this job to start by. So I'd like Hannah to start this job at 12 o'clock tomorrow. So I've set tomorrow, and then I'm going to set the time, which will be 1200 hours. This is a high priority for Hannah. I want it to be one of the first jobs that she does tomorrow. So we'll go ahead and select high priority and create the scheduled job. We can then see that on our calendar for tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Also on the left navigation bar, we have queries, which we'll cover in further detail in a separate tutorial. So we'll go back to the dashboard. At the bottom of the left navigation bar, we can see our settings. So this is where we can start to create users, create our groups, set our integrations, our collections, and also reports. First of all, we'll take a look at team settings. So in our team settings is where we set all of the team settings for our team. So the first thing that we see here is our remote expert solution. Here we can select the remote expert provider for our team. So if a user is out in the field and they're running a job on their device, but they've come across a problem that they need help with, setting remote expert solution will allow them to call the provider that you set here to be able to talk to a colleague remotely, to be able to get expert advice in the field at that very moment without leaving the job. So for instance, here you can choose from On-Site Connect, Blitz, HP MyRoom, Microsoft Teams, or Simply Video. So whichever one you choose there, again, if you make a change, the green box will pop up in the right hand corner telling you that's done. So we'll go ahead and select none for now. You can also set the default time zone. This is the default time zone for the devices and also for all of the reports. So for instance, I have this time set here, but I know that's not correct for my time, so I can go ahead and I can select another time zone. There's quite a few to choose from. We'll go ahead and set Eastern. You can see here we have prevent workflow rollback. So when selected, an older version of the workflow can no longer be activated. So when you create a workflow, you may then go, as you start to evolve your process, you may create another version of that workflow in the editor and publish that live to the server. And that's what we were talking about earlier, where you can add version notes to differentiate. Here what we're saying is that if selected, old workflow versions can no longer be activated. So you do have the option to roll back to for previous workflow versions, but you can set it here so that users cannot do that. And again, just to turn that off and on, it's just a toggle, just press the button, and as you see in the right hand corner, the green box appears to tell you that that action has been performed. Then we have allow job naming. So this is to allow the user to name their jobs. When a user starts their job on their device, a box will pop up to say name job. So we know what workflow they're running because we've either assigned it to them or we've given them access to that. So they can then further name their job. So if, for instance, they were completing an inspection or a fix, a piece of maintenance on an appliance, they may run appliance fix workflow, but their job name may be the job code, for instance, that they've been called out to. You can switch this off so users cannot change the name, and therefore the default will be the name of the workflow. The vast majority leave this on to allow users to name their workflow. Require abandon reason. So if a user is abandoning a job, so if midway through they cancel the job and they do not progress any further, when enabled, the users must provide a reason for abandoning a job. Disable job restart. When enabled, users will not be able to restart jobs. So if, for instance, a job is paused when enabled, users will then not be able to restart those jobs if they come out of them. Require reason on data edit. So when changes are made, this is require reason on data edit. So define whether the user must give a reason when making edits within a workflow. So as users progress through workflows and jobs on their devices, if they decide to change a previous step, so they go back and they make an amendment to either a selection or some of the input text that they put into a step, if they then make that change and then press forward to progress within the workflow, a box will pop up to say, please give a reason for making the amendment. So within creations of workflows, you can set some of your steps that they are optional or non-optional, but we would suggest leaving this on so that you get the full picture of why is what is happening on a job. Auto device sign out. So this is how long in minutes the device must be inactive before it's automatically signed out. So if set, and it must be over 30 minutes, if set, this will automatically sign your device out after that period of time. So if I change the time here and I typed in 40 minutes, you can see a red box there. Again, the red box is popping up because it wasn't over 30, and now it's changed to green because it's over 30 minutes. If I set this to 35 minutes, what this is telling the app to do, or what this is telling you to do, or telling the system to do, is automatically sign you out for security purposes after 30 minutes or 35 minutes of inactivity. And that's team settings. Also within the settings, we can see users. This is where we would manage users, but also add users. So if, for instance, you have a new member of staff and you want to add them to your Workflow Plus team, you can go into users, select plus, add the name, the email address, user mode, so user with password credentials or with third party, and also their user permissions. So I'm the owner of this team. So I can set administrators, data viewers, editors, modifiers, and executioners, which sounds very dark, but it's actual executioners of jobs. If I was an administrator, I would not be able to create accounts for other administrators. I would only be able to create accounts for data viewers, editors, modifiers, and those that can execute jobs. That seems like a nicer way of saying it. If I only wanted users to have access to the client device and be able to run jobs and make no changes, I could simply select user can execute jobs only. So you can toggle between these dependent on the permissions that you want your users to have. You can also manage users in here. So again, I'm an owner, so I have overarching permissions here. I can look at Hannah, for instance, and I can change her permissions. So at the moment, previously Hannah was not an administrator. By selecting administrator, that's saying that we want her to also be a data viewer, an editor, a modifier, and an approver. If I make any changes, I'll select update permissions, and again, we'll see that green box to say that that's been performed. I can lock and unlock Hannah's account, and I can reset her password. This is the same theory with groups. So for instance, you might have a workflow that you want a group of people to be able to complete. Rather than setting it for 10 different individuals, we can put those 10 individuals into one group. And therefore, when we're scheduling jobs or giving permission for workflows, we don't have to do it for 10 individual people. We can simply do it for the group. So by creating a group here, we select plus, we give the group a name, and we create that group. We can then go into that group and add some users. So you'll only be able to add users from within your own account. So the users must already be within your team. So they'll need to have been created in users first. And then you can go in here and select the group, the members that you want to be in that team. I can then select the settings. So I can then furthermore assign this group permissions. So I can set this group to be administrators, data viewers, editors, modifiers and approvers, and or can execute jobs. I can also delete the group. We'll go ahead and we'll leave them as administrators for now. Update those permissions and see the green box. Also within the settings, you'll see audit logs. Here you'll be able to see every activity that's been completed on your account. So for instance, we can see logins, we can see where permissions have been changed. And this is just for security reasons really. So we can see here, for instance, on the 2nd of October. Oh, sorry, American dates. On the 10th of February, I failed to log in. I can click on that and it'll give me further information. That's a nice security feature. We also have our collections, integrations and reports in here. We'll go into those in a separate video because they are their own features. So we can upload our collections here. And again, we were talking earlier on about integrations. So we can set up our integrations in here simply by clicking plus. And again, going through the process of giving your integration name a title and the type, so HTTP or email. And finally, we can see our reports. So reports are completed on the completion of a job. And what you do with those reports is set in your integrations. This report library and this report writer enables you to completely customize your report. So you may want to create a default template that is completely branded to your organization for one or more of your workflows. You could have as many customized reports as you like, pulling in different steps, omitting certain elements of information. And you can create that in here. As you can see on the right hand side, we've had some fun with our reports. I'm not sure that's something that we would want to send out as part of an integration. But in here, you can edit the report using HTML and CSS, and you'll be able to get more information on how to do this in a later video. And we can select Go Back to the Dashboard to take us back to the Workflows page. And that is a very short overview of the Workflow Plus Admin Dashboard. We will be doing further videos to go into more granular detail on all of the features within the Admin Dashboard, but this is an overview just to get you familiar with it. I hope you enjoyed it.